watching New York 1. It's 1 o'clock.
Good afternoon, I'm John Schumo with the latest in the New York 1 Minute. Police are investigating the death of a 9-year-old girl in the Bronx. She was found shot in the chest this morning inside of an apartment in the Mott Haven section. A fire at a Con Ed substation this morning. A piece of backup equipment caught fire. There was a lot of smoke, but no customers were affected. Police are searching for 2 masked men they say robbed a woman at gunpoint in a Brooklyn office. Cops say the pair made off with $25,000. All-star basketball player Stephon Marbury has a run-in with the law in the Bronx. Police say he was driving a Ferrari with a suspended license, no registration sticker, and no front license plate. Uncle Sam will soon be taking a little less out of your paycheck. The first installment of the tax cut plan takes effect today. And it's another hot and humid day in the city. You can beat the heat in one of the city's public pools.
You're watching New York 1. News all weekend.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on this Sunday, July 1st. We'll have more on the day's top stories just ahead, but first, a quick check of the weather where you are. Looking from top to bottom are the current conditions at our weather stations in each borough. Temperatures hover in the high 80s for the early afternoon, but changes are in the forecast as a cold front moves in. The front is bringing storms which could contain heavy downpours, strong winds, and lightning. Complete details, plus a look at the 5-day forecast, are just 10 minutes away. Police are still on the scene in the Bronx this afternoon investigating the shooting death of a little girl in the Mott Haven section. New York 1's Jeff Simmons joins us now with more. Jeff?
John, a 9-year-old girl is dead from a single gunshot wound to the chest. The call came in around 2:55 this morning from the Mott Haven houses. The girl, identified by friends as Taniqua Hall, was shot once in the chest inside her second-floor apartment at 300 Morris Avenue. She was taken just a short distance away to Lincoln Hospital and pronounced dead a short time later. Now, a babysitter said that she lived with her mother, grandmother, and 2 younger brothers, and the babysitter last saw her yesterday alive and well.
She was a sweet, loving little girl. She never bothered nobody. She stayed in the park to play double dutch and stuff. She was just a sweet little girl.
And John, as you pointed out, police are still on the scene. In fact, right now there are 4 officers right outside the front of 300 Morris Avenue. A number of officers also are interviewing 3 family members. No charges against anyone at this point. And one of the key questions that police have is who fired the gun? Another question, where did the gun come from? Stay tuned for all the latest on our station. Reporting from Mott Haven, Jeff Simmons, New York 1. Back to you in the newsroom, John.
Thank you, Jeff. Police are searching for 2 men in connection with an armed robbery in Brooklyn. Cops say 2 masked men, one of them carrying a gun, entered an apartment rental office on Foster Avenue yesterday afternoon. Police say the men tied up a 35-year-old woman and made off with $25,000. The woman was not injured. All-star basketball player Stephon Marbury is arrested in the Bronx. Cops say Marbury, who the New Jersey Nets recently traded to the Phoenix Suns, was charged for driving with a suspended license. Police say they spotted the Brooklyn-born Marbury's Ferrari in Concourse Village without a registration sticker and without a front license plate. Marbury was issued a desk appearance ticket. Firefighters are trying to figure out what sparked flames at a Con Ed substation in Manhattan. The fire broke out this morning at West 110th Street in Morningside Heights. A Con Ed spokeswoman says a piece of backup equipment called a network protector caught fire. The problem was contained to just that piece of equipment. No customers were affected. One firefighter was treated at St. Luke's Hospital for electrical burns.
We had a fire in a switching portion of the facility. The substation was filled with smoke. When we got here, we had a small fire that we were able to isolate. Unfortunately, the fire also entailed a hazmat incident where possible PCBs or asbestos was involved.
Because of that hazardous material, at least 20 firefighters had to be decontaminated, but it was just a precautionary measure. A television set bursts into flames, injuring 1 man and briefly shutting down 42nd Street this morning. The fire department says it happened inside a Verizon parking garage just before 9:30. Officials believe an electrical short caused the TV to catch fire and burn a worker sitting just a few feet away. The man was treated at the New York Cornell Medical Center for minor burns on his arms. Police shut down West 42nd between 11th and the West Side Highway for about a half hour. The power is back on for about a dozen apartment buildings in Chelsea, but yesterday was a different story. A fire at a power station on West 25th Street knocked out electricity for about 4,000 residents at the Penn South houses. Some were stuck in elevators for a short time. The power for Penn South is not supplied by Con Edison, rather the Mutual Redevelopment Houses, which runs the complex. Mutual has not responded to our calls for comment regarding residents who say this isn't the first time they've had power problems.
We have frequent blackouts here. For some reason, we have our own power plant for the past 16 years. It's cost us a huge amount of money. It doesn't work, and I think we should have Con Ed like everybody else who wouldn't have these issues. And there are a lot of senior citizens who live here, and I'm really concerned.
We were watching cable, and the next thing it went out, and I'm like, oh, there goes the TV. And it's like, wait, everything went out. And then we checked the lights and the phone, and everything just went dead in 1 second.
I feel lousy that I can't get back in my apartment. You know, I would like to go back in, but it's very hot, and I'm worried about my cat.
The fire department says an electrical malfunction may have caused the fire. The first full day of freedom was full of protesting for 3 of the so-called Vieques 4. Our Dean Meminger has the details.
The Bronx politicians released from Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center Friday were back there Saturday, this time to protest. The trio called for the release of the still locked up Reverend Al Sharpton and a stop to the Navy bombing on Vieques, Puerto Rico.
3 out of Vieques 4 were let out, and we will not rest till the 4th Viequenses, Reverend Al Sharpton, comes home.
We are calling on our great nation to live up to its ideals and protect the rights, the civil and human rights of its citizens.
The trio also rallied in Harlem at Sharpton's National Action Network, something they promised him they would do. They told horror stories of their Vieques arrest, as well as funny stories of Sharpton's clout.
I witnessed a commanding officer's frustration, and he gave a command: no more personal picture taken, no more autograph. But too late, because as he walked away, there must have been behind him 20 other young soldiers running to get Al Sharpton's autograph.
Back at the afternoon rally, more people arrived from around the tri-state to join the protest.
We're here because we don't like what they're doing in Vieques, and we don't like what they're doing with Al Sharpton. It's totally wrong.
The struggle of Vieques transcends all the boundaries. This is not a struggle of Vieques, Puerto Rico alone. It's a struggle for human rights, for all the people who want justice.
The 3 released members of the Vieques 4 say when they were behind these prison walls, they couldn't see all of the protest in support of them, but they could definitely hear them. And they say now that they're out protesting for Reverend Al Sharpton's release, they know he can hear them as well. In Brooklyn, Dean Meminger, New York 1.
And Roberto Ramirez, who is a lawyer, tells us he now plans on joining Sharpton's legal team. It's time now for a short break, but when the news continues, we'll have our Weather on the Ones forecast.
Come see the Bronx Zoo's new arrivals at our Oh Baby celebration.
Of all the restaurants on City Island, only one has the island's most outstanding cuisine and spectacular view. The Lobster Box, a City Island landmark for over half a century. Discover what food critics and patrons alike have known for years. The Lobster Box is worth a trip to the end of City Island Avenue. 7 days a week, the Lobster Box brings the bounty of the sea to your table for lunches and dinners that are unsurpassed. Come experience it for yourself. There's only one Lobster Box at the end of City Island Avenue.
New York Close-Up, weeknights at 9, only on New York 1.
The Subway Series is back, and we have free tickets. If you think you know New York Mets and Yankees trivia, call in to Men's Warehouse Sports on 1 The Last Word every night at 11:30 on New York 1. Answer the question correctly, and you could win a pair of tickets to the game on Sunday, July 8th. Watch Men's Warehouse Sports on 1 every night at 11:30 on New York 1. The Subway Series Tickets Contest is sponsored by America Online, so easy to use, no wonder it's #1, and by Zone Diet Fresh Food Delivery Service.
The hot and humid weather comes to an end tonight. Good afternoon. It's time for an extended look at weather on the ones. Temperatures hover in the high 80s for the early afternoon. Big changes are in store for the early evening. Our radar is showing a strong cold front with severe thunderstorms moving through our area. These storms could contain heavy downpours, strong winds, and lightning. We expect these storms right now to hit between 5 and 7 p.m. For tonight, temperatures drop considerably. We may even see readings in the 50s as this front moves through. The chance of thunderstorms still around early tonight. Winds are very strong, coming out of the west-northwest at more than 20 miles per hour. Tomorrow, a mostly sunny day, cool and breezy, temperatures in the mid-70s. Look at the relative humidity. It's down to 35%. The next 5 days are shaping up like this. Tuesday, mostly sunny, temperatures in the mid to high 70s. Wednesday, for the 4th of July, cloudy and a chance of showers. Thursday, the chance of thunderstorms still present. If you're planning a trip, here now is our traveler's forecast with conditions in selected cities as well as the expected highs. Remember, here on New York 1, you get weather updates every 10 minutes. New Yorkers will soon feel the effects of the recent tax cut bill. The first installment of the cut takes effect today. For most people, it translates to a few dollars a week, but overall, the 10-year plan will provide $1 trillion in tax relief. About 35 million Americans will benefit from the rate cut. Refund checks will be sent out over the next few months. A good deal for some landlords, as it appears the city overpays for apartments to house the homeless. The New York Post reports the city is shelling out $3,000 a month for apartments that would normally rent for $600 to $800. According to the Post, the 1- and 2-bedroom apartments are rented as temporary housing. The paper says advocates for the homeless are outraged, saying money would be better spent on permanent housing or additional shelter space. In the article, city officials defended the program, saying $100 a night is cheaper than the $200 a day fine the city faces for failing to provide shelter for families in need. It's been almost a year and a half since 4 officers were acquitted for shooting Amadou Diallo, and now the city of Albany wants the state to pay for costs associated with the trial. Albany is asking the state to pay close to $300,000 for expenses like security, riot equipment, and other supplies. The case was heard in the Capitol after a judge ruled intense publicity here in the city could affect the outcome. Former employees of the Swingline Stapler Company reportedly say the mayor has abandoned his pledge to help them find jobs. According to the Daily News, the city promised to help the 487 workers find new jobs when Swingline closed its Long Island City factory 4 years ago. The company relocated to Mexico in 1997 under the North American Free Trade Agreement. The paper says of the 24 former Swingline employees it tracked down, no one obtained a job through the city's assistance or knew of anyone who did. Deputy Mayor Rudy Washington tells the Daily News the city did what it could, but was thwarted by the union and the state's control of $2 million in federal aid to retrain and educate workers.
I have this friend who went to teach in the suburbs. She drives a minivan and goes to bake sales. She spends her days teaching quiet lessons to quiet kids in quiet classrooms. I send her a postcard every now and then.
Call 1-800-TEACH-NY.
Here's how to list an event on the Verizon Community Calendar on New York 1. Send the information in writing, along with a phone number, to the Verizon Community Calendar at New York 1, 460 West 42nd Street, New York, New York 10036. Or email us at ny1calendar@ny1.com. For more information about the Verizon Community Calendar, call 212-465-0050.
New York is set to enact the first statewide ban on using handheld cell phones while driving. That means if you want to talk in your car, you'll need to invest in some sort of a hands-free accessory. Our Tech Beat reporter Adam Balkin has some of your options.
Soon, if you want to make calls from your car, you're going to have to look like one of those people who talks to themselves. There are two basic options to make hands-free calls: speakerphones or earpieces. There are earpieces with the microphone on the cord, earpieces connected to the mic, and this one from a company called Jabra with a microphone built right into the earpiece.
If someone's going to be driving a lot, they might want to invest in a Plantronics unit or Jabra. And those are two of the leaders right now in hands-free accessories.
The ones that are further away from your mouth obviously are going to be sounding a little more hollow. The ones that are in the ear, they're picking up more on the vibrations within your voice, in your head actually, and those are great.
They'll run you from $5 to $30. Then there are speakerphones. The technology has improved since the days when only one person could speak at a time.
Ron, are you hearing me well?
Yeah, really well.
You can get speakerphones that plug into your lighter for around $60. The mic clips onto your visor. Higher-end units that need to be professionally installed cost around $200. There are also cell phones with speakerphones built right in. Now I've decided to test each of the designs in a very unscientific manner. I just parked my car here on a noisy afternoon on 42nd Street with the window rolled down, and I'm calling my voicemail. And this is what it sounds like now through my regular phone. This is what the call sounds like through one of these generic $5 brands with the speaker down here. This is the $20 Jabra earpiece with no extra microphones anywhere. It's just all right there in the ear. This is what it sounds like with this $30 sign from Plantronics with a microphone that points right at your mouth. And finally, this is how it sounds through a cell phone that has a built-in speakerphone. Finally, so you never have to take your eyes off the road, there's voice-activated dialing. It comes at a price, but if you buy a Jaguar, a company called Visteon can voice-activate your phone in just about every feature in the car. If you don't have a Jaguar, a company called Comworks will start selling Portit later this year, a system that voice-activates your PDA. Just say a name in your address book, and the call is made. No word yet on price. If that's all too complicated, check with your phone's service provider. Many do offer voice-activated dialing. Oh, and one more thing to remember when using hands-free accessories.
You absolutely don't have to shout. I see a lot of people on the streets of New York shouting, and they really don't have to.
Of course, this is New York, so shouting may have nothing to do with the phone. In Manhattan, Adam Balkin, New York 1.
It's time now for a short break, but when the news continues, we'll have a check of the forecast. First, though, here's a listing of some of the street fairs going on across the city this weekend.
Visit our website at ny1.com, or you can email us at ny1news@ny1.com.
Oscar, I'm home. Look at this. What happened here? Were we looted?
I was the one that was looted. Well, you missed a great poker game last night. Felix, this TV remote doesn't work.
That isn't a TV remote. It's a blood glucose meter for people with diabetes. Murray must have left it here last night.
Kid, what's it do? Hey, can I get sports results with this?
Yeah. Murray checks his blood sugar level with this. Then he uses the results to control his diabetes by adjusting his medication, exercise, even what he eats.
Oh, that reminds me, breakfast.
You're hopeless, you know that?
I may be a slob, but I'm not a dummy. If you have diabetes, don't you be sloppy about your health.
Learn to test and control your blood sugar.
A fire breaks out on the first floor of a two-family house. Door. The woman quickly leaves to call the fire department. Door. And 2 people die upstairs, overcome by smoke. Door. A man smoking in bed starts a fire. The door. Leaves the bedroom, rushes to a phone. The door. And before the fire department gets there, the door. The rest of his house burns down. The door. Is there one single act that could have been done? Close the door. To help prevent this needless loss of life and property. Close the door. What should these people have done? Close the door. Do you know that a door is one of the best pieces of firefighting and life-saving equipment? Close the door. And if you leave a room that is on fire, close the door. If you simply close the door, it will help stop the fire and smoke from spreading too quickly. Close the door. This life-saving information is brought to you by this station and the New York City Fire Department. Close the door, please.
Time now for weather on the ones on what could be a stormy late afternoon into early evening. The hot and humid conditions end later today as a cold front with severe thunderstorms moves in. There's a chance of heavy downpours, lightning, and very strong winds. Right now, we expect these storms to hit anywhere between 5 and 7. For tonight, winds are very strong, coming out of the west-northwest at more than 20 miles per hour. Temperatures drop considerably. We may even see readings in the 50s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny day, cool and breezy, temperatures in the mid-70s. Looking at our extended forecast now, including the 4th of July, we find Tuesday mostly sunny, temps in the mid to high 70s. Wednesday, you may get wet at the barbecue. There is a cloudy day in store and a chance of showers. Thursday, the chance of thunderstorms still around. Your next New York 1 weather check comes in 10 minutes with a look at the live conditions in each borough.
This is the New York Living Museums Report.
I'm Stephanie Simon. Thousands of people go over it every day, but go inside and you'll see the Brooklyn Bridge in a very different light.
Whenever you work inside such an extraordinary landmark architecture, it's virtually impossible not to respond to the space. And the thing that we found is there's some really remarkable artists who are using light, sound, and technology to create a really remarkable experience that involves architecture or response to architecture.
Inside the Brooklyn Anchorage, the alternative arts organization Creative Time is holding its 17th annual Art in the Anchorage exhibition. And with practically the weight of the world above them, the 9 artists participating created massless medium, explorations in sensory immersions.
The idea is that the media that these artists are working with are not paint, bronze. They're sculpting and creating immersive experiences through light and sound.
Upon entering the Anchorage, visitors go on this virtual tour of nowhere. But its creator calls it a real space because visitors inhabit it with their minds. A very reflective place.
The mirror actually was an ancient form of virtual reality. So in this space that you see here, the space essentially moves around the viewer. The viewer is static and the space moves around them.
In The Matrix 4, it's the viewer that moves through the space and is illuminated by more than 5,000 lights.
I'm standing here on the blue side and it's very bright. So I'm almost, like I barely can see you, but for you, you have exactly the opposite view. You're standing on the red side, you see me very, brightly lit up. So this is like this psychology of colors, psychology of space, and the involvement of each individual in this space.
And the impact technology has on one's perceptions, a theme repeated throughout the exhibit.
A piece by Leo Villarreal called Firmament is one where The viewers are encouraged to recline in the seats that are on the floor and actually look up at simple strobe lights that are patterned for people to just experience purely, not having to interpret or understand the patterns, but simply receive them.
While the strobe lights are purely visual, there's absolutely nothing to see in this sound sculpture. This installation cannot be seen, only heard and felt. Stimulate all your senses at Creative Time's 17th Annual Art in the Anchorage exhibition. Massless Medium Explorations and Sensory Immersions is there through July 29th. For more information, call 212-206-6674. Stephanie Simon, New York 1.
Time for a dip as the city's public pools are open for business. Manhattan residents beat the scorching heat at the Carmine Rec Center in the West Village yesterday.
The sun is hot, the water is fine, and admission is free. You can't beat that with a stick.
I'm happy that the pools is open today so we can come somewhere and cool off and sit down, you know. Come with your friends, hang out at the pool. It feels really good because it's hot out here.
The Parks Commissioner says there are plenty of lifeguards to staff the city's 53 pools. They're open every day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. until Labor Day. Visitors from under the sea made an appearance yesterday as mermaids took over Surf Avenue. Our Sandra Endo has the story from Coney Island.
The surf was up on Surf Avenue in Brooklyn, where the tide brought in creatures from the sea to kick off some summer fun at the 19th Annual Mermaid Parade.
What's so special about mermaids?
Because they're fun and they're pretty.
Pretty creative and some pretty risque.
What kind of mermaid are you?
I'm a pinwheel mermaid.
Pretty brave to wear an outfit like that, huh?
It's a lot of fun. It's the beach. You're supposed to be wearing outfits like this.
We've heard the legend that the mermen under the sea are grotesque and incredibly ugly, so we have to find our own sailors above ground.
This traditionally wild and wacky parade opens up a sea of creativity.
Explain to me your motif here.
80s prom trash that fell off the booze cruise and got mauled by sharks.
I'm the shout at the devil kind of mermaid.
And some showgirl mermaids.
We love the mermaid parade. It's so community spirit.
There's no ocean in Las Vegas, so we had to come to Coney Island.
There were even some smaller fish in the sea.
We have to be very careful because mermaids do eat sardines.
That's why you guys are on bikes.
That's right, we're on bikes.
So you can make a fast getaway?
That's right.
At least one day a year, it's fun to believe creatures from the sea come alive. And for the crowds here, the show didn't disappoint.
I think it's awesome. Great way to come out and spend the summer and, see some really freaks dressed up and have a great time.
I think it's awesome. I wish I could be part of it. Next time I'm going to make my own costume as a mermaid.
It's great. It's New York at its tackiest. Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Hello. Hey, you don't call me on my shell phone when I'm on the TV? I'll talk to you later. Yeah, I'm at the Mermaid Parade. Meet us here.
All right, maybe next year. At Coney Island, Sandra Endo, New York 1.
That will do it for this half hour of New York 1 News. We'll return in just a moment with updates on all of our top stories and a quick check of the weather.